There we go. Okay, so the title of my poem is A Brook in the City by Robert Frost. Basically, this poem is the literal meaning of this poem is talks about a brook being in a city and the transformation of a brook, the transformation of a brook into a ultimate city. So basically, the transformation of a farmhouse, of a farm atmosphere to a city like to the industrialization of this place. The actual metaphorical meaning that the poet intends to give is basically the fact that humans and man itself are guilty of their own decisions. Basically, it implies that man is an impulsive, selfish being sometimes when it comes to nature, and we don't realize what we have until it's really gone.
So, what is the most prominent literary device in the poem?
Throughout the poem, the most prominent would definitely be a personification, because basically it basically makes nature, or the brook in this case, a mortal figure. So it's basically now a brook that is transformed by the end of the poem to a sewer. So it's dirty. It makes the city a awful place where it basically implies that it says the new built city. All those thoughts may not have risen that so keep this new built city from both work and sleep. So basically, it implies that this brook has strength, and it implies that man is impulsive. Now that it used to not even realize that the brook was some important part of life, but now they realize it now that they have a sewer instead of it. So basically, personification is all throughout. It talks about personification as well as metaphors. So it talks about the metaphorical being occurrence of how the city is now buried underneath. It's not literally buried, but it's a metaphorical piece. And he says the meadow, a flower to try its currents where they cross, the meadow grass could be cemented down. So it's basically hard. I mean, cemented down means it's hard, difficult to break. It's difficult to break substance. So it talks about how man is cementing down this beautiful place, and cement meaning that man is really doesn't really think about what they do. They just literally do it, and later is when they regret it. So the meadow grass is the beautiful part of life, and man has just ruined it.
Okay, so you're saying how they later realize when this becomes like a sewer how important it was before. So, how does the historical background of Frost play into this? What is he really trying to say?
We know Frost was a romanticist, so he was a romanticist. He was a big believer in nature. So this poem was written around the early 1920s during the Industrial Revolution. So we obviously know that he was not very happy to see, to see all these changes in the world and see that these old, beautiful places where nature used to grow were now destroyed and created into cities just because man was selfish and quickly destroyed all these beautiful things in order to create more effective life forms, basically. So it's basically the fact that it's during the Industrial Revolution. So he sees a lot of damage to the earth, and he sees how this brook, this strength, is basically destroyed by man's selfish being.
Is there an important rhyme scheme in this?
Yeah, there's definitely an important rhyme scheme. So basically, we know it's an A, B, C, D. It's just there's an end rhyme. He has an end rhyme all throughout the poem. So the end rhyme helps. The end rhyme brings the truth about the brook. So even though the brook here itself speaks for itself, just like the rhymes speak for the truth about how like man just literally destroyed this. So the rhyme scheme helps establish the fact that this new city. It says, for example, it says. The farmhouse lingers, though averse to square, with the new city street it has to wear a number in, but what about the brook? So basically it's talking about how the brook is no longer, you see the obvious end rhyme as I read it a second ago, and basically it talks about how this brook is just basically destroyed. So as the rhyme scheme's going on, you see a rhythm and a pattern, and how like throughout life and throughout time, we see that man's interests change, and here the brook is no longer important. What's important is man's selfish being and wanting to become more effective in life and in creating a city.